The morning was quiet in Wilmington, North Carolina. No storms on the radar. No aircraft in the sky. No tremors beneath the earth. Just a still, sunny day, until it wasn't. Without warning, a deafening boom erupted from above. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't an explosion. And it certainly wasn't an earthquake, yet buildings shook and car alarms blared. People rushed outside, eyes darting toward the clouds, but the sky was empty. No smoke. No flash. Nothing visible at all. Local news stations were flooded with calls. It felt like something exploded right over my house, one resident said. Emergency services confirmed there were no accidents, no military activity, no gas leaks, no seismic events. And yet, the sound was so powerful it was recorded on multiple home security systems, some as far as 50 miles apart. One microphone even picked up a low-frequency wave that lasted several seconds, almost like a pulse. This wasn't an isolated event. In fact, it was just one of hundreds of similar reports worldwide. These incidents go by many names: skyquakes, sky booms, mystery booms. But they all have one thing in common: no one can fully explain them. What causes these unexplained sky sounds? Are they natural, man-made, or something beyond both? Could they be warnings, signals, or side effects of something we don't understand yet? The mystery of skyquakes is far from solved. And the deeper you dig, the more unsettling it gets. Because when the sky screams, and no one knows why, the silence that follows is even louder. What exactly are skyquakes? They've been heard for centuries. Sudden, loud, ground-shaking booms from the sky with no visible source. No lightning. No explosions. No aircraft. Just noise. Unexplained, disorienting, and often terrifying. Today, we call them skyquakes, but this mystery is anything but modern. A skyquake is a phenomenon where a loud booming sound appears to originate from the sky, often startling entire communities. What makes it so baffling is that these sounds are usually not accompanied by any seismic activity, weather disturbances, or human-made events. People describe them as cannon-like, explosive, even like a thunderclap from nowhere. And in most cases, they happen on completely clear days. Interestingly, the term skyquake is a relatively recent addition to our vocabulary. But the events themselves have been recorded under different names around the world for generations. In coastal Bangladesh and parts of India, they're called the Barisal guns, named after the city of Barisal where these strange sounds were frequently reported as early as the 19th century. In Connecticut, they're known as the Moodis noises, eerie underground booms tied to Native American folklore. In Japan, the term umanari, which means roaring of the sea, has been used to describe these same booming phenomena, sometimes heard miles inland from any coastline. The first documented reports date back to the early 1800s. In 1824, British colonists in Barrysall wrote about loud booming sounds that echoed across the water without warning or cause. Fast forward to the 1850s in the United States, and we find reports in New York and Massachusetts describing earth-rattling sky sounds that seemed to shake houses yet left no trace behind. In Italy, particularly along the Adriatic coast, people have long spoken of the Brontidi, a deep rumble said to come from the sky or sea. Chile has its own folklore about booming sky sounds thought to be caused by gods or mythical creatures. Even Australia has experienced mysterious sky noises, sometimes reported by remote towns that are miles away from anything that could logically create such a boom. In recent years, with the rise of smartphones and security cameras, documentation of these events has exploded. Homeowners capture doorbell videos where the only thing recorded is an earth-shaking bang, followed by dogs barking and car alarms sounding in the distance. Satellite data sometimes picks up pressure waves, but almost always, there's no seismic activity. No planes breaking the sound barrier. Nothing to explain why the sky just boomed. One of the most unsettling aspects of skyquakes is their inconsistency. They can occur at any time of day, in any weather condition, and in virtually any part of the world. Sometimes they repeat for several days. Other times, they're one-off events that vanish just as quickly as they appeared. And unlike earthquakes or thunderstorms, there's no warning system, no pattern, and no scientific consensus on what's causing them. Maps of global sightings show clusters across North America, South America, Europe, South Asia, and parts of Oceania. While they are often dismissed as isolated anomalies, when plotted together, a curious pattern emerges. Many are near coastlines, tectonic boundaries, or military testing zones, but not always. Some occur hundreds of miles from either. Some occur in urban centers, others in remote deserts. This global spread, combined with the lack of physical evidence, has turned skyquakes into one of the most mysterious natural, or perhaps unnatural, phenomena of our time. They sit at the intersection of science, folklore, and fear. And while the world gets louder every year, these particular booms refuse to be ignored, because they don't just make noise. They raise questions no one seems to have an answer for. Skyquakes around the world, a global pattern emerges. To understand just how widespread and strange the skyquake phenomenon truly is, we have to travel around the world. These booming sounds have been recorded in dozens of countries, in different climates, at different altitudes, and across multiple centuries. When pieced together, these reports reveal something deeper, a global pattern that science still can't explain. Let's start in the United States, where skyquakes have become part of local folklore in many states. In North Carolina, especially near Wilmington and the Outer Banks, residents have long described sudden booming sounds that seem to come from the sky or offshore. These sky booms are so frequent they even have a nickname, the Seneca Guns. On January 6, 2022, thousands of people along the southeastern coast of North Carolina reported hearing a powerful explosion around noon. It rattled windows and even shook the ground for a few seconds. The National Weather Service ruled out any meteorological explanation. Seismologists found no earthquake activity. and both the Air Force and Navy denied conducting any exercises in the area at that time. This wasn't the first such report. Local authorities had catalogued dozens of similar cases over the past 10 years alone. In New York, particularly around the Finger Lakes and parts of western New York State, sky booms have also made headlines. On December 3, 2013, residents in Erie County were jolted by a loud bang that many assumed was a gas explosion or an industrial accident. But once again, there was no damage, no fire, no crash. The U.S. Geological Survey found no seismic event. And meteorologists confirmed that the skies were completely clear at the time. These loud atmospheric booms came without warning and left no trace. In California, skyquakes often appear along the coastline. Ventura and Santa Barbara counties have experienced several such incidents, many of them reported on calm, sunny days. On November 4, 2020, a thunderous sound shook homes from Malibu to San Diego. Social media lit up with questions and theories. The Naval Air Station at Lemoore admitted to having aircraft in the air, but denied any sonic booms. Seismographs showed nothing. The sky had spoken, loudly and without explanation. Moving across the globe to India, the regions surrounding the Ganga and Brahmaputra rivers have experienced mysterious sky sounds for generations. In the Indian state of Assam, people living near the riverbanks often report deep, echoing booms that seem to come from nowhere. Some villagers believe the noises are connected to the ancient spirits of the river, while others fear they are signs of underground volcanic activity. On July 2, 2020, at 1:45 a.m., residents in the city of Guwahati were startled awake by a loud blast that shook windows and caused panic. Emergency services were flooded with calls, but no explosion or natural disaster was found. Meteorologists ruled out thunder, as no storms were recorded within a 200-mile radius. In Italy, particularly along the Adriatic coast, the phenomenon known as the Brontidi has mystified locals for over a century. These skyquakes often occur in calm weather, typically near coastal towns. One of the most documented cases happened in Ancona on March 18, 2017. The boom was so strong that local authorities initially suspected a bombing or military drill. Residents ran into the streets in fear. But as investigators quickly found, there was no explosion, no aircraft activity, and no seismic tremor. Witnesses said the sound seemed to come from the air, an invisible pressure wave that arrived suddenly and vanished just as fast. Italian geologists suggested it could be related to tectonic plate friction along the Adriatic microplate, but no conclusive evidence supported that theory. Japan has its own version of skyquakes, known as umanari. The word translates to the roar of the sea, and it has been part of Japanese oral tradition for centuries. Unlike the United States or Italy, where these events often occur inland, Japan's sky booms are mostly recorded in coastal villages. One notable event occurred on September 11, 2014, near the city of Kushiro on Hokkaido's eastern coast. Fishermen and villagers reported hearing a deep, resonating sound coming from the sea. It lasted only a few seconds but was powerful enough to set off car alarms and send birds flying. The Japan Meteorological Agency confirmed there were no earthquakes, tsunamis, or weather events at the time. Umanari remains one of the least understood atmospheric phenomena in the country. Bangladesh, the birthplace of the infamous Barisal guns, continues to experience skyquakes in the present day. In March 2019, residents along the Meghna River reported a loud boom that echoed for nearly a minute. The skies were clear. There was no thunder, no explosion, and no military activity. Scientists attempted to link it to natural gas releases or underwater seismic activity, but the region's geological surveys didn't support that idea. What was more concerning was the range. People nearly 50 kilometers apart described the same sound with similar timing. Chile, a country known for its seismic activity, has also experienced sky booms that don't line up with earthquakes. In October 2018, near the city of Valparaiso, a loud atmospheric explosion was heard over a 30-kilometer radius. Unlike typical tremors, no ground movement was detected. Witnesses described the sound as a metallic roar, followed by silence. Chilean scientists suggested that it might be the result of a sudden atmospheric pressure drop, but local weather data did not support this claim. Some Chileans believe these skyquakes are a sign of shifting magma beneath the Andes, while others blame military activity or even extraterrestrial interference. Australia is not exempt from this mystery. In the sparsely populated outback of Western Australia, residents have reported loud sky booms for decades. One famous case took place near Kalgoorlie in May 2015, where miners and townspeople alike heard a massive blast just after sunrise. Emergency crews were dispatched, thinking it might have been a mine collapse or explosion, but found nothing. Later, audio analysis revealed a shock wave of unknown origin. Australian Defence Forces denied conducting any weapons tests or flights in the area. Scientists offered no clear explanation. The sound was real. The source was not. In many of these cases, media coverage followed quickly, especially when video or audio evidence was involved. Local news channels often turn to meteorologists or university experts, but the explanations offered are rarely satisfying. Most times, the event is simply labeled unexplained and shelved until the next one happens. Some news outlets lean into the mystery, suggesting links to climate change, alien life, or classified government experiments. Others try to downplay the fear by calling it a rare atmospheric anomaly. But what becomes clear over time is that these events are neither isolated nor rare. In fact, data from the past 2 decades suggests skyquakes may be increasing. A study conducted by independent researcher David Deming in 2004 compiled over 50 documented cases in North America alone, and that number has likely doubled since. Social media now plays a major role in bringing these events to light. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and Facebook are flooded with first-hand accounts and raw footage every time a sky boom is heard. Hashtags like #Skyquake, #Skyboom, and #WhatWasThat trend globally within hours of each incident. And yet, with all this evidence, we still lack a consistent, universal explanation. There's something particularly haunting about these global reports. Whether you're standing in a coastal Italian village, a bustling Indian city, or a remote American suburb, the pattern is eerily familiar. A loud sound. No warning. No trace. just the echo of something massive and invisible crashing through the sky. And no one, not seismologists, meteorologists, or military officials, seems able to give a definitive answer. The skyquakes are happening. They are real. And their mystery is far from solved. Are there natural explanations for skyquakes? When the sky cracks open with a sound like the end of the world and there's no visible source, the first instinct is to look to science. People want an explanation. A cause. A reason for the sound. And over the years, several natural theories have been proposed to explain the mysterious booms that have been classified as skyquakes. Yet, as each theory is laid out, it seems to explain part of the story, never the full picture. One of the most common explanations offered is the sonic boom. This is a well-understood physical phenomenon that occurs when an aircraft breaks the sound barrier, usually traveling faster than 1,235 km per hour at sea level. When this happens, a shock wave is created, and the resulting boom can be heard for miles. It's a sound that mimics thunder, but with a sharper edge. Sonic booms have been studied extensively, and their effects on the ground are known. Windows can rattle. Glass can crack. Even people miles away can feel the reverberation. So, it would make sense to assume that many skyquake incidents are caused by high-speed military jets. But this theory begins to fall apart under closer scrutiny. In nearly every modern case of a mysterious sky boom, the relevant Air Force or defense agency has either denied conducting any supersonic flights in the area or claimed their aircraft were operating well below supersonic speeds. In the 2022 Wilmington, North Carolina case, both the U.S. Air Force and Navy denied responsibility. There was no training scheduled, no test flights planned, and no sonic activity recorded. In many other cases, no aircraft were visible or detected on radar at all. The sonic boom explanation, while tempting, often doesn't match the timing, intensity, or geographic footprint of the skyquake itself. Another natural explanation considered is what's known as an earthquake boom. Sometimes, when seismic waves travel near the surface of the Earth, they can create acoustic energy that travels upward, producing a loud sound that seems to come from the sky. These shallow seismic shifts often don't register as full earthquakes and may not produce noticeable ground movement, especially in regions where the bedrock is thick or solid. Geologists call them lithospheric tremors or acoustic emissions. In theory, these mini-quakes could explain some of the unexplained booms. But again, the data often doesn't cooperate. In the majority of skyquake cases, including those recorded by U.S. geological survey stations, there's no seismic activity at all. Not even a ripple. And in instances where the boom was heard across vast distances, like in Italy and Chile, there were no corresponding tremors, not even the minor ones that typically cause these effects. In some cases, skyquakes have occurred in regions without any known fault lines or recent tectonic activity. That makes the earthquake explanation inconsistent at best. Atmospheric conditions have also been proposed as a possible cause. Specifically, temperature inversions and high-pressure systems may, under the right conditions, bend sound waves in unusual ways. This means a sound produced far away, such as a quarry blast or an explosion at sea, could be refracted through the atmosphere and heard much farther away than usual. These refracted sounds may appear to come from directly overhead, even though their source is dozens or even hundreds of kilometers away. This is known as, for example, under a strong thermal inversion, a layer of warm air traps a layer of cooler air near the surface. Sound waves bounce off the warm air and are redirected downward, amplifying noises that would otherwise dissipate. In theory, this could explain why a distant explosion sounds like it's directly overhead. But while this can account for the direction of the sound, it still doesn't explain the source. In most skyquake cases, investigators have failed to find any industrial activity, explosions, or even quarry blasts in the surrounding regions. So while atmospheric effects might distort or relocate a sound, they still require something to be making that sound in the first place. One fascinating natural explanation has to do with the ocean. Along coastlines, particularly in areas with unique geological formations, wave pressure can build up inside sea caves or cliffs. When waves crash into these hollowed spaces, the trapped air can compress and release in a sudden burst, producing a deep, cannon-like sound. Known as coastal rebound or cliff resonance, this process has been observed in certain areas like the sea caves of California and the rugged coasts of Scotland. Some experts believe that under specific tidal conditions, this could create a loud enough sound to be mistaken for an explosion. However, the geography required to produce this effect is quite rare. And again, many skyquakes happen far inland, where there is no coastline, no caves, and no ocean pressure waves to blame. In the Finger Lakes region of New York, for instance, there are no such sea cliffs, yet booming sounds are frequently reported there. In colder parts of the world, another explanation has emerged: ice quakes. These occur when large sheets of frozen water rapidly expand or contract due to sudden temperature shifts. When ice cracks, especially across frozen lakes or rivers, the sound can echo and travel great distances, sometimes creating a boom that seems to come from the sky. This phenomenon has been documented in Alaska, Canada, and parts of Russia. In places like Minnesota and the upper Midwest, ice booms are a known winter occurrence. But ice cracking doesn't explain booms that occur in hot, dry regions like Arizona or the Middle East. And many skyquake incidents have occurred during spring and summer, ruling out the possibility of ice expansion. Moreover, even in icy environments, the booms produced by ice quakes tend to have a specific tonal quality, less explosive and more cracking or splitting in nature. The deeper scientists look into each of these natural explanations, the more contradictions they uncover. While some skyquake events might be caused by sonic booms, shallow quakes, or unique atmospheric conditions, others simply don't fit any known natural pattern. Their sound profiles, timing, and locations defy what current models can predict or replicate. This leaves us in an unusual place. We have several plausible theories, each of which can explain some of the events, but none that can explain all of them. And that's what keeps the mystery alive. For every boom that might be traced to a military jet, there are dozens more that occur in areas with no flight paths. For every acoustic anomaly caused by temperature inversion, there are countless events where the weather was normal and the skies were calm. Skyquakes, then, remain a paradox. They sound like explosions, but leave no crater. They behave like earthquakes, but don't move the Earth. Why science still can't explain skyquakes? For a world increasingly governed by data, sensors, satellites, and real-time monitoring systems, the idea that massive booming sounds can erupt from the sky without any clear cause is more than unsettling, it's embarrassing. How can something this loud, this dramatic, this globally recurring, happen without a trace? Scientists, after decades of observation and investigation, are still unable to offer a conclusive explanation for skyquakes. And that mystery has created division, frustration, and no small amount of controversy across scientific communities. At the heart of the problem is the lack of consistent evidence. When a skyquake occurs, it usually leaves behind nothing but audio recordings, eyewitness accounts, and perhaps a few trembling camera feeds. There are no seismic signatures in most cases. Instruments designed to detect even the slightest earthquakes, devices that can register a squirrel jumping on a roof, often show no activity when these sky booms occur. This has been confirmed by numerous agencies around the world, including the USGS, which has investigated many skyquake events and come up with nothing on their seismic logs. This absence of physical ground movement rules out most geological causes. And that's a point of contention among seismologists, some of whom argue that these must be atmospheric or man-made events, while others believe we simply lack the tools to detect ultra-shallow crustal shifts. Still, if skyquakes were due to mini-quakes or tectonic shifts, we would expect to see at least some correlation with seismic data, and yet, time and time again, none is found. No rumbles, no tremors, no waves, just the sound itself. Meteorologists offer their own ideas, but here too, there's division. Some point to rare weather phenomena like temperature inversions, acoustic refraction, or even high-altitude lightning. Yet these events are often accompanied by specific weather patterns, which are typically absent in skyquake scenarios. In many cases, the skies are clear. Winds are calm. Humidity is normal. There's no storm in sight. Weather patterns fail to explain the consistency of the boom's sound, which is usually sharp, explosive, and instantaneous, very different from the rolling thunder of a storm or the echo of distant lightning. Geologists also weigh in, especially when skyquakes occur near coastal regions or fault lines. Some have proposed deep-sea tectonic interactions or gas release from the Earth's crust. These would theoretically produce shockwaves that could travel upward and burst into sound. However, these events would still need to trigger some form of seismic activity or pressure imbalance, something we could detect, map, or replicate. But again, most skyquake events show no signs of any such activity. The Earth remains still, even as the air erupts with noise. This lack of tangible data creates a scientific dead zone. Without consistent seismic readings, atmospheric disturbances, or identifiable sources, scientists are left guessing. And the guessing has led to academic infighting. In recent years, there have been heated debates at conferences and in journals over what should be considered a true skyquake. Some researchers argue that only events with triangulated witness reports and confirmed lack of seismic activity should be studied. Others insist that this narrow scope eliminates potentially important anomalies. The disagreement reflects a deeper issue: science doesn't like unsolvable puzzles. Adding to the complexity is the fact that some skyquake reports do occur near known testing zones or flight paths, while others don't. Some happen near coastlines, where natural air compression from waves or underwater activity could plausibly generate sound. But many more happen far inland, in dry, flat areas with no nearby military installations, airports, or oceanic forces. This inconsistency fuels controversy. It forces researchers to acknowledge an uncomfortable possibility, that we may be missing a whole class of natural or man-made phenomena that we simply don't have the instruments to track. Some scientists propose that we're not looking in the right frequency range. Standard seismic sensors focus on ground vibrations, but perhaps skyquakes operate on acoustic or infrasonic levels we're not consistently measuring. Low-frequency sound waves can travel vast distances and may be invisible to traditional detection systems. If true, it means skyquakes might not be Earth-based at all, but part of a broader category of atmospheric or interatmospheric events. Unfortunately, few institutions have the funding or incentive to invest in the kind of multi-layered monitoring needed to confirm this. Others argue that the lack of evidence itself is suspicious. In an era of total surveillance, satellites watching every weather system, radar tracking every aircraft, seismic and acoustic monitors in every corner of the world, how can an event loud enough to shake windows occur without setting off a single alarm? This has led some critics to believe that data might be suppressed, withheld, or selectively ignored, especially when skyquakes occur near sensitive areas. The scientific community dismisses such claims as conspiracy, but the absence of consistent explanations only makes those theories more appealing to the public. Then there's the problem of reproducibility. One of science's core principles is the ability to reproduce results. You conduct an experiment, document the outcome, and others follow the same steps to verify the conclusion. But skyquakes don't follow rules. They don't happen on command. They're spontaneous, erratic, and scattered. You can't predict when or where the next one will occur. That makes studying them almost impossible under traditional scientific standards. All scientists can do is wait, hoping that when it happens again, someone, somewhere, has the right tools recording at the right moment. In the meantime, academic journals rarely publish skyquake research. It's considered fringe, or at best, a curiosity. Funding agencies prioritize projects with measurable variables and testable hypotheses. Skyquakes offer neither. They're a phenomenon on the edge of scientific comfort zones, residing in the gray space between confirmed event and unexplained anomaly. For many researchers, devoting too much time to skyquakes risks their credibility and career advancement. So the study remains piecemeal, scattered, and underfunded. Yet the booms continue. And each one adds another layer to the mystery. The absence of a source becomes the source of frustration. The inability to explain what's happening fuels deeper scientific tension. Because the truth is, no field, whether geology, meteorology, acoustics, or aerospace, can claim ownership of the phenomenon. Everyone has a theory. No one has an answer. The scientific world is used to big questions. But what makes skyquakes so unique is their refusal to cooperate with any known model. They challenge what we think we know about sound, energy, space, and even reality. They expose the limits of our instruments, our categories, our assumptions. And in doing so, they remind us that the sky above, though mapped, measured, and modeled, is still capable of making noise we cannot name. The rest of the journey leads into more speculative and controversial territory. Beyond science, theories that break the rules. When natural science fails to offer a satisfying answer, the human mind goes looking elsewhere. In the case of skyquakes, that search has led people far beyond seismology, meteorology, or acoustics. What begins as a strange noise in the sky quickly becomes a stage for far deeper speculation about governments, aliens, dimensions, and divine warnings. Because when something as fundamental as sound defies explanation, people begin to question the world they thought they understood. One of the most persistent and controversial theories is tied to government experiments. And at the center of it is HAARP, the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Located in Gacona, Alaska, HAARP is a research facility originally funded by the U.S. Air Force and Navy. Its purpose, according to official statements, is to study the ionosphere, a layer of Earth's upper atmosphere crucial for radio wave transmission. But for many, HAARP's true capabilities are far more secretive. Conspiracy theorists argue that HAARP can manipulate weather, generate earthquakes, and even produce large-scale sound events in the atmosphere. The powerful radio transmitters at the facility are capable of heating sections of the ionosphere, and some believe these experiments could cause ripples in the sky, creating the booming sounds known as skyquakes. While scientists affiliated with HAARP have consistently denied any such possibilities, their denials have done little to stop the rumors. When a mysterious sky boom occurs, particularly near areas with classified military activity, HAARP often becomes the scapegoat. But it's not just HAARP. Skyquakes have been reported near missile testing ranges, drone corridors, and military flight paths. Some believe these unexplained booms are the result of experimental hypersonic aircraft being tested in secret. These next-generation planes could break the sound barrier at lower altitudes or use propulsion systems that create unfamiliar sound profiles. Since these operations are usually classified, there's no confirmation or official data to review. The sky booms, some argue, are not atmospheric accidents, but the acoustic fallout from technologies the public isn't meant to understand yet. Then there's the extraterrestrial theory. It may sound far-fetched to some, But when you strip away the traditional explanations, no jets, no earthquakes, no storms, people begin to consider what else might be up there. Skyquakes, in this view, are interpreted as the result of alien activity. That activity could be passive, like surveillance from cloaked spacecraft, or it could be more direct, warnings, signals, even atmospheric manipulations intended to test how we respond. There have been skyquake reports that coincide with alleged UFO sightings. One such case occurred in the summer of 2018 in British Columbia, where a series of loud booms echoed across the skies at night. Within hours, residents also reported glowing objects hovering silently in the distance. No aircraft were reported in the area, and no thunderclouds had formed. Video footage went viral online, showing flashes of light above the tree line followed by deep, concussive sound waves. Some saw this as proof that something not of this earth was present, creating sound signatures outside the scope of known technology. Other believers suggest that extraterrestrials are trying to communicate using frequencies we barely understand. The skyquakes, they say, could be interdimensional pings or tests, experiments in manipulating Earth's atmosphere to trigger specific responses. With space agencies now confirming the presence of unexplained aerial phenomena, the idea that we're not alone is no longer as fringe as it once was. And for those open to the extraterrestrial hypothesis, skyquakes are not mysteries. They are messages. Still others go even further, speculating that skyquakes are a byproduct of dimensional overlap. In this theory, the loud sky booms are not caused by weather, or planes, or even aliens, but by vibrations from other realities brushing up against our own. According to string theory and various interpretations of quantum physics, multiple dimensions could coexist alongside ours. Under certain conditions, perhaps when energy levels spike or gravitational forces realign, these dimensions might briefly intersect, producing phenomena we experience as skyquakes. The sound in these events, believers argue, could be the echo of events happening in another realm. A building collapsing in another timeline. A massive vehicle breaking through a transdimensional barrier. Even the mere movement of air in another universe could create ripples that spill into our own. This theory, though highly speculative, is one of the few that tries to account for the sheer unpredictability and geographical randomness of skyquakes. It offers no hard evidence, but it does align with how strange and non-repeating these events tend to be. And then there's the oldest interpretation of all, the divine. In many cultures, loud booms from the sky are seen not as mysteries, but as messages from above. In the Bible, the sound of trumpets from the heavens is tied to moments of revelation and judgment. The Book of Revelation describes 7 trumpets that signal apocalyptic events, each one tied to a dramatic shift in the world order. Some believers see skyquakes as the literal fulfillment of this prophecy, trumpets of warning from a higher power, signaling that the end times are near. These so-called sky trumpets have been recorded and posted online, with eerie videos capturing long, low groaning sounds or trumpet-like tones echoing from the clouds. While most of these are believed to be hoaxes or misinterpreted mechanical noises, others defy categorization. They don't just sound like music, they sound orchestrated. Too rhythmic. too intentional. Combined with the sharp cracks of traditional skyquakes, these tones add a supernatural layer to the phenomenon. In parts of Latin America and Southeast Asia, skyquakes are also seen as omens. Elders speak of the sky crying out before disasters or major events. Some communities conduct spiritual rituals after hearing such booms, believing they must appease the spirits or gods who are speaking through the sky. The fear is not just of the sound itself, but of what it may signify. Even in the modern West, where science dominates the discourse, there's an undercurrent of religious curiosity surrounding skyquakes. After all, if the sky opens and no one can explain why, doesn't that leave room for something bigger than us? For some, the sound isn't just a noise, it's a warning. A call to pay attention. A moment where the physical world and the spiritual realm overlap, if only for a second. None of these theories can be proven, but they endure because they touch something deeper than data. They give shape to the unknown. Whether you believe in government cover-ups, alien probes, dimensional rifts, or biblical trumpets, the mystery of skyquakes creates a space where imagination and fear collide. The sound comes. There is no source. And that silence in the aftermath invites every possibility. These are the theories that live in the margins of science, too strange to publish, too persistent to ignore. They don't solve the mystery, but they do something more powerful. When the sky booms, the world reacts. For most people, it begins as an ordinary day. A quiet afternoon. A clear evening. A routine morning walk. And then, without warning, the sky speaks. It doesn't whisper. It roars. A sudden boom that seems to tear through the air, rattling windows and shaking the ground, without a single cloud, flash, or tremor in sight. The reaction is almost always the same. Confusion. Panic. And questions with no answers. Eyewitness accounts of skyquakes span continents, and the emotions they reveal are uncannily consistent. In 2022, in Charleston, South Carolina, a woman described the sound as something out of a war zone. "It was like a bomb went off over my house," she told a local reporter. "The walls shook, and I ducked down thinking we were under attack. But then, nothing, no smoke, no sirens, just silence." In India, during a 2020 incident near Guwahati, residents flooded police stations with frantic calls. One man said, "I thought it was an earthquake or a gas explosion. My wife grabbed the kids and ran outside. But there was no shaking. Just this sound. I don't know what else to call it." His confusion was echoed across the region, with local authorities reporting more than 500 individual complaints within the hour. In Australia's Northern Territory, an elderly couple living on a remote farm described the experience as something spiritual. "It was like the air itself cracked in half," the man said. We both stood there, staring at the sky, waiting for something to fall from it. But nothing ever came. It just ended. In Chile, a 2018 skyquake near Valparaiso prompted widespread fear among schoolchildren. Teachers evacuated classrooms, thinking an explosion had gone off nearby. Parents rushed to schools in panic, only to find no emergency. Just a sound. A massive, unexplained sound that no one could trace. The emotional aftermath of these events is hard to overstate. For many, it's not just the noise, it's the lack of closure. The feeling of hearing something massive and unnatural, with no explanation offered afterward. That psychological void often leads to heightened anxiety, especially in communities that experience multiple booms over time. Some residents report trouble sleeping, watching the skies nervously at night, or feeling constant dread after hearing a skyquake once. Social media has amplified these reactions in unprecedented ways. In the past, sky booms might have stayed local, shared in hushed conversations between neighbors or mentioned briefly on regional news. But now, every time one occurs, platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube explode with videos, hashtags, and theories. In many cases, the first report of a skyquake doesn't come from a scientist or government agency. It comes from a teenager with a phone. One viral TikTok video from 2021 captured a massive boom over Phoenix, Arizona. In the clip, the sound is sudden, deafening, and absolutely real. Dogs bark in the background. A car alarm blares. The girl filming it spins the camera toward the sky and whispers, "What was that?" The video was viewed over 6 million times in less than a day. Thousands of comments followed, some terrified, some joking, many echoing the same thought: that wasn't thunder. On YouTube, compilations of mysterious sky sounds regularly rack up hundreds of thousands of views. Some videos feature real-time reactions, people running outside, kids screaming, adults swearing under their breath. In one case, a man in upstate New York recorded his entire street rushing outdoors after a skyquake that set off several home security systems at once. His video ends with a group of neighbors staring upward in silence. These viral videos contribute to what some psychologists now call acoustic dread, the growing anxiety people feel in response to unexplained loud sounds. It's not just fear of the noise itself, but fear of what it might mean. A pending disaster. A military experiment. Something unnatural breaking through the sky. For those who experience skyquakes firsthand, the impact often lasts longer than the sound. Mass panic is rare, but not unheard of. In 2016, in Bangladesh, a skyquake near Dhaka caused a brief stampede at a market. People fled in every direction, fearing a bomb or building collapse. Several were injured. And in 2019, in northern Italy, a similar incident led to the evacuation of a school and the grounding of local flights. Authorities later said there was no cause for alarm, but by then, the fear had already spread. The consistency of emotional response across cultures is striking. Whether in the suburbs of America or the villages of India, people describe the same confusion, the same instinct to run, the same chilling silence after the sound disappears. It doesn't matter where you live or what language you speak, when the sky booms for no reason, the reaction is universal. Eyewitnesses often describe feeling watched, or that the event was directed specifically at them. A woman in Scotland told reporters after a 2020 incident that the boom felt personal. She said, "It was as if something was trying to get our attention, like a warning shot from above." This emotional projection, feeling targeted by the unknown, is common in traumatic sound events. It's the brain's way of trying to attach meaning to something inexplicable. For many, skyquakes remain one of the most unforgettable experiences of their lives. Not because of what they saw, but because of what they didn't. The sky is supposed to be predictable, quiet unless weather intervenes. When it suddenly booms with the force of a battlefield, and no explanation follows, the world feels a little less stable. And that uncertainty lingers. These reactions, documented in thousands of posts, videos, and testimonies, paint a picture of global anxiety fueled by an invisible trigger. The sound may vanish as fast as it appears, but its psychological echo lasts much longer. Because when people look up and realize that even the sky can lie to them, the ground beneath their feet doesn't feel so solid anymore. What the experts are saying, and not saying. When skyquakes make the news, the public turns to the experts. People want answers from those who study the sky, the ground, and the forces that govern both. And yet, time after time, the answers offered are cautious, incomplete, and often conflicting. While experts in geophysics, meteorology, and aerospace engineering have weighed in on skyquake phenomena, their statements rarely agree, and even more rarely do they satisfy the curiosity of those who experienced the event. Geophysicists are often the first consulted after a skyquake, primarily to rule out seismic activity. Dr. Paul Earle, a seismologist with the United States Geological Survey, has gone on record multiple times explaining that in most reported skyquake cases, no seismic data is found. In one interview following a 2021 incident in Florida, Earle stated, "If there had been even a small earthquake, we would have picked it up. These sounds are real, but they aren't coming from the ground. That alone narrows the mystery, but doesn't solve it." His colleagues agree that skyquakes are not geological in nature, yet they cannot say what they are instead. Military statements tend to create more questions than they answer. After a loud boom over San Diego in 2022, residents demanded clarity. The Navy initially denied conducting any exercises in the area. But days later, a spokesperson admitted that a routine supersonic flight had taken place, but not at the time witnesses reported the boom. These conflicting timelines are common. The military often denies sonic boom responsibility unless the evidence is overwhelming. And even when they do admit to flights, the timing rarely lines up exactly. This pattern of vague answers and changing stories has fueled suspicion that some skyquakes may be related to classified operations or experimental aircraft. Atmospheric scientists try to fill the gaps by looking upward instead of outward. Dr. Kimberly Strong, an atmospheric physicist at the University of Toronto, believes some skyquakes could be caused by sudden shifts in atmospheric pressure that act like shock waves. In certain layers of the atmosphere, she explains, pressure can build up rapidly and releases a low-frequency boom, not unlike what you'd hear from a distant explosion. However, she admits that such conditions are rare and difficult to replicate. Most meteorological data surrounding skyquakes shows no such anomalies at the time of the sound. Others in the field point to atmospheric lensing, the idea that sound can travel long distances and be refracted in unusual ways. Dr. Roger Waxler of the University of Mississippi has studied how acoustic energy moves through the upper atmosphere. He suggests that some skyquakes might be sounds from distant sources, industrial blasts or offshore detonations, that bounce back to Earth in strange places. But even he acknowledges that this wouldn't account for the loudness, clarity, and suddenness reported in many skyquake cases. As these partial explanations accumulate, a divide grows between mainstream scientists and alternative thinkers. Conspiracy debunkers argue that people are too quick to jump to extreme conclusions when the science is simply incomplete. They believe many skyquakes are just misidentified sonic booms or distant thunder made strange by the acoustics of modern cities. On the other side, believers say that science is actively avoiding the truth, that something bigger is being hidden, either through incompetence or intention. Independent researchers have stepped into the void left by academic silence. David Deming, a geophysicist and skeptic-turned-investigator, published one of the most extensive compilations of skyquake reports in the early 2000s. His work noted that many cases defy explanation, even when all standard variables are accounted for. He wrote, "There is an unexplained phenomenon occurring in our skies. It is real, measurable, and global. The failure to acknowledge it only deepens the mystery." So, what are the experts really saying? They're saying the sounds are real. They're saying they aren't earthquakes. They're saying they aren't always caused by planes. And they're saying that sometimes, even the best instruments we have can't trace the source. It's not denial. It's admission that even in our data-driven age, some questions still hang unanswered in the sky. Why skyquakes go viral every time? In today's hyper-connected world, the moment a strange sound echoes across the sky, it's not just heard locally, it's broadcast globally. Skyquakes, once whispered about between neighbors or reported in local papers, are now captured on smartphones and shared instantly on social media. The result is a phenomenon that doesn't just boom through the atmosphere, it explodes online. The perfect viral formula lies in three key elements: sound, mystery, and fear. A sudden, unexplained noise that feels massive and unstoppable. A lack of explanation from officials. And the natural human tendency to record, share, and react. This trifecta makes skyquakes uniquely suited for digital amplification. Within minutes of a boom, TikTok floods with videos of shaking windows, startled pets, and frightened voices asking the same question: what was that? Platforms like Reddit amplify the mystery further. Threads about strange sky sounds quickly gather thousands of upvotes. Users post links to YouTube compilations, speculate about secret weapons, or trade clips from different countries showing near-identical booms. The communal nature of these discussions creates an echo chamber of uncertainty, where theories evolve faster than facts can catch up. YouTube, especially, has played a massive role in pushing Skyquake content to the forefront. Compilation videos with titles like Top 10 Mysterious Sky Sounds Caught on Camera rack up millions of views. These videos mix real footage with dramatic music and on-screen commentary, blurring the line between genuine documentation and entertainment. The more bizarre the sound, the more clicks it gets. And the more viral it goes, the more it shapes public perception. Once online, Skyquakes take on a life of their own. People who've never heard one begin to anticipate it. News agencies are pressured to respond faster. Experts are pulled into debates they weren't prepared for. The digital age doesn't just spread skyquakes, it transforms them from isolated events into global experiences. Every boom is now a broadcast, and every echo becomes content. Are skyquakes trying to tell us something? After thousands of reports, decades of research, and countless hours of footage, one thing is clear: skyquakes are not just figments of imagination. They are real. They are loud. And they remain almost entirely unexplained. From military denials and failed scientific models to viral videos and emotional witness testimonies, the mystery of Skyquake sits at the edge of our understanding, daring us to figure it out. We've seen how they span continents, defy weather patterns, and leave behind no damage, just questions. Scientists can't agree on what causes them. Some say it's atmospheric. Some say it's geological. Others point to military activity, or perhaps something more cosmic. Theories range from natural anomalies to extraterrestrial technology, from ancient prophecy to dimensional interference. But none of them explain every case. That's what makes this mystery so powerful. No single explanation seems big enough. So we're left to wonder. Could these loud sky booms be signals of something bigger? Are they early warnings of environmental changes we don't yet understand? Could they be tests, either by nature or by forces unknown, pushing the limits of our perception? Why do they always come suddenly, shake us to the core, and disappear without a trace? The fact that no explanation fits all cases tells us something profound. Either we're not asking the right questions, or we're not ready for the answers. Maybe what we call skyquakes are clues. Echoes of technology not yet disclosed. Reminders of forces still hidden in the earth or sky. Or perhaps, they're simply phenomena our science hasn't evolved enough to decode. And that's where you come in. Have you ever heard a loud unexplained boom? Have you felt the ground stay still while the air around you erupted with sound? Do you know someone who's experienced a skyquake? We want to hear from you. Your story could help build the global picture. Drop your experience in the comments below. Tell us where you were, what you heard, and how it felt. Let's document this mystery together. If you found this video fascinating, make sure to like it and share it with others who love unsolved phenomena. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into unexplained events, hidden science, and the strangest stories from around the world. Your support helps us keep investigating the mysteries that most people are too afraid, or too skeptical, to explore. And stay tuned, because in our next video, we're diving into another strange anomaly shaking both the scientific world and public imagination. We're talking about strange hums that never stop, heard only by a few, but recorded all over the globe. Is it industrial noise? Secret communications? Or something more biological, even neurological? Until then, keep your eyes on the sky, and your ears open. Because sometimes,